Hello everybody and welcome back to Relatively Crafty, a knitting podcast. This is episode 5 and I can't believe I've done this 5 times already. I'm really enjoying it. My name is Cristi. I am a newly Coloradan. I have just moved to Colorado from Southern California. In September. If this is your first time with the podcast, welcome. Thank you for coming and checking me out. If you have been with me during the long duration of my 4 other episodes, thank you for coming back. Okay, so this has been quite a busy day already. I have tried to record this several times today, but I have run into issues. One of the first issues was that I thought I had to do stuff today. I had errands that had to be run, and my kids are home from school for winter break, and so I knew that I was going to have them with me. And even when they are on their best behavior, they can only behave for so long, before it starts to get to be too much for them. So I knew that today was going to be a little bit more involved than normal, than if I were going on these errands by myself. And then to make matters that much more detailed and strenuous, my mother-in-law has just moved to Colorado. In fact, you'll notice that I've been doing a lot of knitting this week, even more than normal, and that is because on Friday my husband Ron flew back to California to pick her up and flew back here on Saturday, and so I had a full night and a whole day, really, because he left he left Friday morning, actually, so I had almost 2 full days, because he left Friday morning and then he didn't come home until late Saturday, and so I got a lot of knitting done because I didn't sleep very well, But anyway, I knew that I had to pick up my mother-in-law to take her to pick up some more winter clothes, because winters in Southern California are almost non-existent. 60 degrees is cold there, and so even though she did manage to get snow boots and a heavy coat and some thermals before she left, it wasn't going to be enough, and so I knew I had to pick her up today, and I figured I had to be there at 11 to pick her up. I'll go ahead and record beforehand, and so I've been trying to find a good place to record, and I have this window right here that you guys can't see, and I thought, well, if that natural light is shining on my face, then that will help to keep the good natural light for the show, or for the podcast rather. However, about 10 minutes into recording, the sun came up over the roof of my neighbor's place and started just shining me right in my eyeballs. And so then I had to try to rearrange myself. I moved a little bit and finally got to a point where I was in a spot where I could record without the sun right in my eyeballs, and then my battery died. So I took a break and charged the battery for about 15 minutes, thinking that might be enough just to get me through. And it was at that point that I tried to take care of some other business, and when I came back on, I was able to record just for a few more minutes, like 10 or 15 minutes, and then the battery died again, and then I had to leave because I had already wasted so much time trying to record and adjust and charge batteries and whatnot, and so I said, forget it, I'm just going to go ahead and charge the battery while I go and run the errands with my mother-in-law, and then I will come back and finish the video. However, now it is 4 p.m. and most of my natural light is gone. So I have my aught light. I have an aught light that I use for intricate work when I'm, well, at least I did back in California when I needed to do intricate work at night on my knitting, and that is what is shining on me, which is not very natural, but it is at least light. And I figured, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and start all over and just pretend that what happened this morning didn't happen. So I apologize. It's just been a mess. And I'm stressing out a little bit because on Thursday, my family starts coming in, and I have 6 family members that are coming to stay with us for a week for Christmas, and I'm very excited about it because this is my folks and my brother and my uncle and my aunt and my cousin, but we have never hosted a holiday ever, and we've never really had long-term or even short-term overnight guests. With the exception of, I think my father-in-law came and stayed with us for a little bit once, but he was the type of guy, because he drove a truck, he could just sit and sleep on anybody's couch and it didn't really matter. However, now it's, as I said, my folks and my brother and my uncle are all coming from Southern California, and then my aunt, my mom's sister, my uncle is my mom's brother, is coming from Texas, and then my cousin, my uncle's daughter, is coming from North Carolina, and it's going to be awesome. But as I said, we've never hosted that many people overnight, and I don't know what to do. I made sure to get bedding, and you can see, I don't know if you can see right there, all of those pillows. Those are all because I didn't have pillows, so I went and bought pillows yesterday. But we have the trundle bed, we have the day bed rather, and the trundle bed, and then we have our couch folds out, and then my kids will sleep on the floor so that 2 people can sleep in their bunk beds, and that's just going to be how it goes. There's going to be one adult that's going to have to sleep on the floor as well. It isn't going to be me, so I don't really care who it is as long as it's not me. But yeah, so it's going to be wonderful and fun and exciting, and it's so nice to see these family again. I mean, I haven't seen my parents since September, and for some of you that may not seem like much, but we're a very close-knit family, and so I always saw my folks several times a week, and so to not have seen them for 3 months it's been a little bit odd. Like it feels uncomfortable. So anyway, that also brings to mind the fact that this will be my last podcast for the year of 2016 because, as I said, everybody comes in on Thursday and Friday. They will be here until next Friday. That means that my house is going to be filled with people for Tuesday, and so I just won't be able to get away and get enough quiet time to be able to do another podcast before the end of the year. So I will come back to you on, January 3rd? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, January 3rd. And I will probably have lots and lots of knitting to show you because we'll be spending a lot of time catching up and chatting with each other and watching shows and just spending time with family, and I will be able to knit throughout all of that. So I'm excited about that. But let's talk about what I am wearing. It is actually warm today. We had a rather large snowfall over the weekend, about 8 inches, which may not seem like a lot, but it was a lot for us. It was the most we'd had since we've gotten here, and it was the coldest that it had been since we'd gotten here. It was about 3 degrees below zero for a good portion of the day, which was the day that my mother-in-law came in, which probably wasn't the best introduction to Colorado. She liked it a lot better today when we went out because it's in the mid-50s right now. So it's kind of surreal to go out right now because the sun is shining, or at least it was earlier, and it's kind of warm. You know, I was just wearing this today, but yet there's snow on the ground. It's kind of interesting. So yeah, I just really don't have any knitwear on. I do have my socks. Yay, socks. That is the same base that I showed you my holiday kitsch socks. It's by Fireweed Dye Works, who is Alaskan Nancy. This is in the Mexican stripes. I knit those 3.5 years ago, and they're still looking really good. So yeah, that's what I was mentioning earlier in my last podcast about how I can get away with 100% merino socks and not have to worry about them getting holes in them because I guess I'm not very hard on my socks. So anyway, that is what I am wearing. So now let's talk about what I have finished. I've actually finished a couple of things. And I don't have very many pictures because I am a failure at this podcast thing. I mentioned last week that I was knitting little heart ornaments for my kids, teachers, for my kids' teachers, not for my kids, but for their teachers. And I had to knit 9, and they had to be done by last Thursday night, and I was scrambling Thursday evening trying to get them all done. And because I was worried about not getting them all finished, well, the minute I finished one, I was like, Tatum, okay, put it on the card and let's go ahead and let me and then now put this one on the card, and so so I didn't get an FO photo at all. I did get one of the first 4 that I made, and I'll post that right here. But yeah, that's all I got. So the other 5, I don't even remember what they looked like at this point. I will tell you. The pattern is Love You Forever by Tanis Fiber Arts, and I loved the pattern. I loved the look of the hearts. They're so adorable. I mean, I showed you the gray striped one that I had before it was filled last week, and I can tell you that when they're filled, they're even cuter. So it makes me really want to knit some for myself and maybe make a garland out of them. It's something that I'm seriously thinking about doing in 2017 because they were just adorable. And I could just see doing, you know, it is a special color scheme. I mean, I have all those minis. I could totally take some of them out to make a garland of these hearts. Absolutely loved it. So I'm definitely going to be making them again. And they will be my, like, go-to. I need a quick little tchotchke knit up right now and make one of those. The other thing that I finished that I don't have an FO photo of is the mitts that I made for my cousin for Christmas. Out of the Malabrigo Rios in Ivy, I made the hat, and then I was working on the mitts for her last week, and I finished those. I finished those Friday night when my husband was gone, and then Saturday, in an effort to try to not be so concerned about them all flying back, I wrapped up Christmas presents and wrapped up those gloves, and just that was it. And then I realized after I'd put all the presents under the tree that I needed to show them today. So I don't have a really good FO shot of those either. I just have this one that I took on my cell phone really quickly. I do plan on doing a nice photo when my cousin is here, is after she opens the presents. So hopefully I'll be able to do that and show it to you. At the very least, I'll put it on my Ravelry project page. But those are both done, and I have to say that I really liked the feel of them after I made them, so I think I'm going to make a pair for myself. That pattern was the Peekaboo Mitts by Spider Woman Knits, and Spider Woman Knits Designs, I think. And I really enjoyed that pattern, and I liked the way they felt. They were a little bit snug, so I think I might add a couple of stitches when I make mine, but I have plenty of yarn with which to make them, and so I'm looking forward to making myself a pair for those days when it's not bitterly cold, but it's cold enough to need a little bit of covering for your hands. So yeah, really looking forward to making myself a pair of those. I also have been doing a really good job of keeping up with the Canadian Knitters podcast's what is it, the 2016 Mini Skein Advent Cal. You're supposed to take a mini every day of the month up to Christmas and knit whatever you're knitting with it. Some people are doing mitered squared blankets, some people are doing the beekeeper's quilt like I am, some people are doing crochet versions of these, some people are doing completely different other things. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to keep up with this, but I've actually really been enjoying it. I do most mornings, you know, I get up and I have some coffee and I have some breakfast or I have tea, and I watch a little podcast or you know, half a Gilmore Girls or something like that, because I never watched that show when it was new, and now I'm trying to catch up. I'm only on season 2. I'm really behind, but I am really enjoying it. But anyway, and I knit this, and as I said, I can get 2 of these generally out of each mini. So this is just the first one that I knit, and then the second one goes in my bag. And yeah, I mean, I haven't done today's because, as I said, today was kind of a crazy day. But I have 19 made, and I've really been enjoying making these every day. And so I really think that this is something that I want to continue in 2017. I started my blanket, I think, in 2010, and it's just the size of a couch runner, which is sad because I mean, to have been working on it for 6 years, you'd think that I would have more accomplished. So I really want to try to make a concerted effort to get more of it done in 2017. I think that there's an hour in between dropping Tatum off at the bus stop and dropping Delaney off at school. And during that time, I normally just waste it, playing on the computer or watching a little show or something like that, because Delaney's getting ready. I'm normally already ready by then. And so what I'm thinking is that might be a really good time of day to just knit a flat or two. And I have that time. So that's 5 that I could get done each week. And I don't have to do it on the weekends, but that'll still really build up the amount of flats that I have. And then hopefully by this time next year, I can maybe even be done with the blanket, which would be really nice because I'm ready for it to at least be blanket sized, lap blanket sized. So anyway, so there is that. And then the last thing I have finished is something that I made for my girls, or for one girl. I'm working on the other one for the other girl. But I should tell you that when we first learned that we were moving to Colorado, the first thing I thought was, oh goodness, I need some real warm hats for my kids, because I really haven't made them very many hats. I think I've made them each one hat and one pair of fingerless gloves, and those were years ago. But there wasn't really much need for it out back home in Southern California, and so I figured now I would actually need them. But when I came to this realization, it was still summer, and I was still struggling with wanting to knit anything, and so I posted a wish in one of the groups that I'm on, Ravelry, for somebody to knit hats for my kids, for at least one kid, and a dear friend offered to knit it for both my kids, and so I sent her some Cascade 220 Superwash that the kids picked out on the internet, and she knit them hats. And this is Delaney's and this is Tatum's, and they're perfect for their personalities. And then she sent me the hats, and I think this is the Whitman hat, maybe. I'll put it down below. But she sent me the hats, and then she sent me the leftover yarn. And then, so we got here, and the hats were here, and that was awesome. And then when we had our first snowfall, I realized that not only were they going to need hats, but they were also going to need mittens, and maybe even cowls. So I decided to go ahead and knit Tatum some mittens, and I took the leftover yarn from her hat and used it to stripe the cuffs of the mittens. So there you go. I also used Cascade 220 Superwash for the base of the mittens, and they now coordinate very nicely with her hat. And then I have plenty of this leftover, with which I'm going to hopefully knit her a cowl, because she's been complaining a lot of, she's got this great jacket and her gloves, her snow gloves, and her hats, and she puts a hood on and she's warm except for right here. She said, "Mom, it's so cold right here." So I'm going to knit her a cowl out of what is left. And as I said, these mittens didn't use up very much yarn, so there is plenty left over. I do have a scale, one of those drug scale type things, the little tiny ones that fit in the palm of your hand. But I don't know what's happened to it in the move, so I might have to buy a new one. So I know exactly how much yarn I have left, but I'm sure that I have plenty for a little kid's cowl. So I have those ones finished for Tatum, and then that leads us into whips, and I can now show you the ones that I'm working on for Delaney. So these are Delaney's, and as I said, they're whips, so they're not done. I have this one all done except for the thumb, and then this one I'm almost to the point of starting the decreases for the fingertips. And so you can see that it coordinates so nicely with her hat as well. And the reason why this thumb isn't done is because she asked if I could do the thumb in the purple as well. And I wasn't sure if I had enough. I wanted to make sure that I did. So I did started the second one with the cuff, so I've now used up all the purple that I need, and this is what I have left, which I think will be enough for 2 little thumbs. I'm making the pattern I'm using. Did I mention that? Did I say the pattern? I don't know what I did with it. Oh wait, oh, there it is. Okay. So the pattern I'm using is, it's just Pattern for Children's Mittens by Afghans for Afghans. And I made the large size for Tatum, and I'm making the medium size for Delaney, and they fit perfectly. Tatum's well, actually for both of them, I've added an extra 4 rows or so to the length of the finger part because they were a little bit short. But yeah, they were quick and easy to knit. I knit Tatum's in a day. I will have knit Delaney's in just a little over a day. And yeah, I'm just really, really happy with the way they came out. And again, with what I have left of the ball of Cascade 220 Superwash in the blue, I will knit Delaney a cowl as well. That way they are completely covered and can really go into winter prepared. Because even though there's snow outside, it's still not winter yet. The other whip that I have 2 more actually. This is the sock that I was showing you last week, and you can see from my little you can see from my little Owly progress keeper that I have gone almost nowhere with this. This is my knit out in public when I need to focus, or when I don't have anything else to work on, or I'm really, really tired project. And I take this kind of stuff to church with me, but we didn't end up getting in. Ron and his mom's flight was delayed several hours, and because my mother-in-law needed help with a wheelchair and whatnot, everything just took a lot longer, and so it was 1:30 in the morning before we got her luggage, got her out of the airport, got her home in the snowy streets, got her fed because she hadn't eaten anything, and then got her set up in the nursing home and unpacked and whatnot. And so we were all very tired when we came home very early on Sunday morning, so we did not go to church this week, so I didn't knit on this at all. But I do expect that this is something that I'm going to be finishing soon. Maybe not before Christmas, but maybe by the end of the year. I'm not sure. We'll see. I'm not in any hurry. I mean, I have plenty of socks, as I've said, and with socks, the draw for me with socks is the actual knitting. Like, I'm definitely a process knitter for socks. I love making vanilla toe-up socks, and so that's more the reason why I knit them, just because they're fun to knit, rather than because I need more socks. And then my last whip, this is something that I cast on Friday night while I was trying to get myself geared up to sleep alone. Ron left to come to Colorado 3 weeks before we were able to come up, and I slept fine for those 3 weeks, but for some reason this single night was a little bit harder because because the house is different and I don't know anybody here, and it makes different sounds, and I felt uncomfortable, and so I stayed up really late on Friday night, and I watched holiday movies, and I knit. And I started the front of my Rustique sweater by Glenna C, and I'm really excited about getting this going again. I thought that because I had been knitting a lot of smaller items, on smaller needles, and with less rustic yarn, less tweedy yarn, that it was going to be uncomfortable and awkward at the beginning, but I got right back into this cable pattern, and it felt really comfortable again really quickly. So I can't wait until the sweater is done. I'm so excited. I think that this is something that I'm going to be working on the most while my family is here. This at this point has become rather mindless knitting, even with the cable pattern, because I've made it for so much already on the sleeves and on the back. So it's very intuitive, and I just feel very comfortable with it. So yeah, I definitely think that I'm at least going to get all the pieces knit while my family's here, and then I'll probably sew it together in the first week of the new year. And it'll be my first sweater done for January. Okay, so that is what I have finished, and that is what I am working on. So I guess all that's left is what I have acquired over the past week. And guys, I bought more yarn. But this time I actually bought it with specific patterns in mind, so I feel a little bit better about that. And I got it on sale, and I got it from my LYS, so I was supporting local businesses. The way that my yarn shop that I go to, which is Colorful Yarns, by the way, in Littleton, and if you're ever in Littleton, please go by and check it out. It is one of the best, no, it is the best yarn shop I've ever been in. I love what they have in stock. I love the owner and the employees and the space that they have. I love everything about this shop. But they have this separate room where most people sit and knit. And so in that room they have all their sale yarn, which is genius because you're sitting in this room for hours chatting and knitting and looking around, and so you look over at the sale yarn and then you go back to your knitting, and then you look back over at the sale yarn, and then you look back at your knitting, and then something catches your eye in the sale yarn, and then before you know it, you're buying sale yarn. And that's exactly what happened with me. I ended up having a seat right next to the sale yarn, which was my first problem, because I was right next to it, and so I got to look at it a lot. And I discovered that they had all of this Spud and Chloe sweater yarn for sale. It was already marked down. It was already marked down quite a bit, and then it was 20% off on top of that. So I was like, oh, what can I do? I mean, I saw these two skeins, and they were just this gorgeous burnt orange, which actually is quite similar to what I'm making my rustique out of, I realized. And my first thought was, gosh, I wish they had a sweater quantity of this, because I'd love to have a sweater in this color. I'm making a sweater in this color, but I also have like 2 sweater quantities in my stash in that color, but anyway, they only had the 2 skeins, so I was like, well, what can I do with 2 skeins? Maybe I should make myself, I don't know, something smaller. And then and I was like, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe I should make myself something smaller. Maybe I should make my girls something. I don't know, what can I do? And I was looking through the stash page on Ravelry and looking what other people had made with it, and then I was looking through the through the patterns page on Ravelry looking for worsted, and then I saw that they had this really pretty blue, and then also this white, and I thought, you know what, this would be really pretty together. What can I do with it together? And then I was looking through the patterns that used worsted weight yarn in this yardage, and I came across a pattern that I had actually been really wanting to knit for a very long time, and that is the I'll Pack a Cowl for Rhinebeck by Deb Jaculo, maybe? Hakuyo? I apologize if I've just butchered that name. But I'll post a picture right here, but look at this cowl, guys. It's color work with two, a top color and a bottom color, and sheep and an alpaca. And I was like, that's perfect. That's perfect. I'll use a skein for the bottom in the orange, and then I'll use the blue skein for the top, and then this will be for my sheep and alpaca. And then the yarn shop, Colorful Yarns, sells these little tiny knitted wit gobstoppers, which is this just a little tiny 35 yard mini in worsted weight in this charcoal gray, which can be for the feet. And then there you go. I'll make my little sheepy cowl out of this. And I'm really excited about it. And it's something that I've wanted to make for a long time. And I'm super duper keen on it. So yeah, that is definitely going to be a project for January, so expect to see that soon. I've already made a project page. I'm getting ready to wind up this yarn. Like, I'm serious about this. This is a thing. This is really going to happen. really soon. And then of course you'll notice that I'll have an extra skein of this, and I didn't need to buy this second skein of this orange, but this is like my favorite color ever. And so I thought, well, since it was already on sale, I think I paid $8 for it. I was going to go ahead and buy it, and then I could use it for who knows what. Maybe I'll make my fingerless mitts that that I made for my cousin out of this. I don't know. We'll see. But I couldn't pass it up. So yeah, that is what I have. I don't expect that there will be any more stash acquisitions in the next podcast in 2 weeks, because my family does not buy me yarn. My family does not buy me books or yarn because they never know what is the right thing to get me, and all too often the things that I want, especially when it comes to yarn, are out of the price range of a lot of my family members. You know, I would love to have a whole set of Chiagu interchangeable needles, but that's, you know, a decent cost, and it's not something that my family's going to want to get me, or, you know, really high quality sock yarn, you know, that kind of thing. They have a harder time spending money on that kind of stuff. So I end up just buying the stuff on my own when I'm ready for it, or, you know, swapping for it, or, you know, earning it on commission work and that kind of thing. So anyway, guys, that's what I've got for today. The sun just keeps going down lower. We're relying a whole lot on my light, which is a rather bright light, as you can see, but I do feel like it's probably a good time to wind this down and say goodbye. I hope you all have just a wonderful holiday with your families and your friends. Enjoy these last couple of weeks of the year. 2016 has been a doozy of a year, and I don't know about you, but I am ready for it to be gone. Like, I am really ready for a new year to be ushered in, and let's start anew, and hopefully it'll go smoother. Because, yeah, this has been a rough year for us personally. It's been a rough year for our nation, and yeah, I'm ready for a new start. So, again, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Festivus, whatever you celebrate, have a happy one. If you don't celebrate it at all, then have a really good Sunday next week. And have a happy new year. Stay safe, stay warm, you're loved. Bye, guys. Take care.